Today I have a little help. We're going to connect the irrigation system to the barn and to the plastic mulch, drip tape under the plastic mulch. And I'm going to show how those little pieces connect. So we're down here at the crop area and about to connect the drip tape to the source hose. I have several pieces that are going to be handy. Today I bought some landscaping pins to hold down the source hose, keep it in place where I want it. I'm also going to use those to patch up some spots on the plastic mulch that have come loose. We're going to be connecting these valves to the main line and then attaching the drip tape to this end here, which screws on and makes a nice tight seal, I hope. These are the end caps for the drip tape. I am going to use these maybe if they give me a lot of headache, because the drip tape is kind of like working with a Ziploc bag, and trying to get a Ziploc bag to fit over these is not really easy. So if I get frustrated with it, I'm just going to tie them in a knot. I don't know that these pieces were necessary. I bought this. It's supposed to be a hand-friendly punch for the drip tape or the source hose. This punch is not big enough to match the valves that I have. So I'm going to punch the source line a couple of times with that. And then I've just been making the holes a little bit bigger using an Allen wrench. I hope that's a successful leak-free technique, but it's what I'm doing. So back here at the start of each of my rows, where I've got my two tester end caps, the rest of my rows I tied the end of the drip tape. My helper is having some difficulty. I told her not to wear flip-flops down here. I tied the end of the drip tape to the fence as I pulled the row so that it didn't come through the drip tape, or sorry, through the beds as they were being raised. So I have a lot of extra on this end. So I found that, as this source line here moves and rolls, it causes a difference where the valves are. See how some of the valves are like sticking up and some of them are sticking out straight? Like that one. So I am holding this in an angle so I can see where that valve is going to go, and I'm just going to go ahead and punch the line a couple of times with this hand tool, because the punch size is not big enough for these valves. And then I've been taking the Allen wrench, which is not as big as the valve hole, but it's enough to stretch out the source tape enough so that I can punch this through. Usually it takes a couple of minutes, a couple of tries. There we go. So it just popped in like that. Okay, let's go do the next one. Here it goes.
And then it is. This lighting's like perfect.
Is it?
Yeah.
Good. Wonder what these are. Coming up.
Something growing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like grass or weeds or something.
I don't think it's the clover. I guess I'll know when I can compare it to what's up there. that one went in really well.
I think I went over the camera.
So we just did about five of the rows. My hands need a break. And what I was thinking is that I don't want to have to move this back and forth. I kind of want it to be where it's going to be when I connect it. So I'm going to go ahead and put down some of those garden pins to hold the source line in place. And that way I don't have to worry about my valves moving away from their current position. So I'm going to use these garden pins to hold down the source line.
How far away are you gonna do them?
What do you mean?
Like the pins?
It's a good question. I'm just putting them really just one before and one after the valves. Seems to be holding it pretty solid.
Is there like a certain amount of like length it has to be?
Oh, what?
Like the drip tape?
Well, because I think that this is going to be dripping water as often as it's going to be dripping water under there. And knowing the soil and how boggy it gets, I'm afraid it's going to just make a mess down here. So I was trying to shorten the length of the exposed drip tape as much as possible.
Why don't you just put duct tape around the holes?
Suppose you could.
Flex
Good
tape.
idea. Yeah. Now I have two helpers. One's tearing the duct tape and the other one is patching the holes. I have all 29 rows with their valves attached, and the next thing I'm going to do is take a pair of scissors and I'm going to cut with some slack the drip tape and then attach it to the valves and like slide it onto this little piece here, and then it tightens over top of it to make a seal. In theory. So this is the end cap for the drip tape. This seems like a waste also, because I can just tie it.
So if it's stretched, will that like make it not work? Won't that make the holes bigger?
I don't know what it'll do, to be honest with you. Okay, so I'm gonna finish off the source line by cutting it.
Are you gonna tie it? Or are you gonna use one of those end caps?
The source line doesn't get either one. The source line gets a figure 8.
It's special.
And it just slides through the figure 8. Oh my gosh. Yeah, okay.
It's not very bendy.
It shouldn't be. And then back down. And then in. I think it should be, like, I think it should be more.
How
like
does that stop the water?
Just like a hose does, it pinches it off. See, there's a pinch in it so the water can't flow through there.
So where does the water go? Into the plants.
Into the plants. This is what the system looks like. Out of the hose, there's a valve for the hose. Timer. I have a splitter manifold here, the timer, the piece for the feeder is here. This is a little adapter piece, the filter, then the pressure regulator. And I decided to go with a regular garden hose to get myself out of the box. So the true test is going to be hooking that piece up and then watching for any catastrophe down there. This is the last connection before the whole ordeal. So I'm gonna film the whole thing as we turn the water on and see if any of those valves down in the field pop out. of the rows or see how I did with my helper. All right, so back to the setup here. I did go ahead and set the timer just so I could cause the water to flow. It would not flow whenever I plugged it in without putting the batteries in and setting it. Right now, it's just an Orbit, very simple timer. I didn't want anything fancy. So right now I have the dial set to on. I don't think this matters for doing anything right now. So I'm going to turn this on. You'll see where it leaks. Right there. I'm going to fix that. I thought I heard some leaks from here, but no leaks from there. My helper's up here anxiously waiting to see what happens with our project. So I'm down here. I feel water coming through the pipe. It's just running along that open space, kind of just right there on the edge. Looks like all the valves have a little bit of drip. At the connection. This one is kinked a couple ways, so I'm just gonna scoot it back. Happier that way. So I'm just gonna come walk along the back sides of the beds to see. Yep, it's got water. So I'm ready for plants to come. This was the last step on that part of the journey.